Hi everyone and welcome back to the last part of the series. So in this video we are going to cover up video calling part and also we'll discuss how to implement chat functionality. You can find all of the code on GitHub repo, and please also make sure to hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Please also let me know what other type of content you would like to see on this channel after this series is going to end. So in this video, we are going to also discuss how to deploy our app, and we are also going to set up AWS S3, which is going to be used in order to store files and images, whatever media content that we are going to share through our app. So enough with the introduction, let's get right into it. So as you can see here, we have flow diagrams and I have already shared it on the Discord server. If you want to access these, please join our Discord server. Link is given in the description and also on the channel page. So the first thing that we are going to discuss here is how the video calling is going to work in our app. If you have seen the other video I posted few days back about audio calling, then you will be already familiar with this flow, okay? Because this is going to be exactly same as the audio calling. The only thing that is going to be different here is that instead of just one stream that we were exchanging, that is the audio stream, we'll be having two streams this time, one for the audio and the second one for the video. That is the only difference which is going to be there. So let's actually go through it quickly. So in our app we are going to have two users who are going to be actually communicating with each other. Now whenever a user is going to start a call, the first action that will happen is we will send a notification to the other user. Then the other user is going to have two choices whether to accept it or deny it. If the other user denies the call, then we'll actually send an event, okay, through socket.io, that will be call denied event, which is going to actually mark that call as denied, okay, and the call will end between the two users. And what actually happens when the first user starts the call, that user is immediately going to get a token from our ZEGOCLOUD server. Then we'll be connecting that user to a room. Okay, this room is going to be a unique room in which the audio and video stream are going to be exchanged between these users. So that is called a room. Now how we are actually going to implement this programmatically, for that we'll have to take a look at this diagram. So we have two entities here. The first thing is our app, or you can say the client side application. We are not talking about our backend when we are mentioning this app. And then we have ZEGOCLOUD SDK. This SDK is actually what is facilitating the communication between our users. Okay, that means exchanging audio and video streams, that is going to happen through ZEGOCLOUD. The only thing that our server, or you can say the backend that we have created, is going to do in this case is to basically create some logs. Like whenever the call is going to start, a log will be created for that, okay, and the status will be updated if the call is denied, or let's say the user is busy. Okay, so based on those cases we have already implemented that logic in our app. So the first thing that happens on our client side when a call is going to start is to create an instance of this ZEGOCLOUD SDK, or you can also call it creating an engine, okay, in terms of ZEGOCLOUD documentation. Now when you create an engine, you have an instance of ZEGOCLOUD, okay, and for this you are going to need some credentials. I have already discussed that in a previous video, how you can create your project on ZEGOCLOUD, okay, and use those credentials over here. Then the next thing we do after creating the engine, or you can say instance, is to check the browser's compatibility. If that browser in which the client is on, okay, that browser is capable of exchanging audio or video streams or not, okay. So that is the second action that we'll perform during this call. Then we actually create a room for these users, and that room is going to have a unique ID. That is very important here, okay. Then the two users are going to actually log into the room, okay, and for logging in there are going to be, we'll also need few other things like users ID, which should be unique, okay, across that room, users username, okay, and then we are also going to need one thing called token. This token is not something that you can actually randomize anything and create it. that is not how this is going to work. There is a procedure, a particular algorithm that you'll have to follow in order to create this token. Okay, and what this token is going to contain, basically this is going to contain some information about who is this user. Okay, and what privileges this user is going to have after joining this room, like if the user can publish their audio or video streams or not, if the user is allowed to even log into the room or not. Okay, so those are the things that we actually get through the token. After that user is logged in, what we actually do is, first of all, we set up some callbacks in order to get some updates on the room's status, the user, that is the current user which has just joined the room. Okay, their status in the room, like they are connecting, disconnected. Okay, and then also the streaming status. Okay, like whenever a new stream gets added, the user will be notified through a callback, or whenever a new stream gets deleted, or you can say disconnected, then also this callback is going to be fired. So we can actually use these callbacks in order to update our UI. Then the next thing this user is going to do is to create and publish their audio and video streams both. Okay, this is, we call this local audio and video stream. Okay, you can actually see this in our code base. The next thing we do is to create callbacks for updates on the local audio and video stream that we just published. Like we want to get quality updates on this stream. Okay, so that is how we are going to actually do it. We also set up some callbacks for the remote audio and video streams. That means the audio and video streams that we are getting from the other user who is going to join the call, who has joined the call. Okay, so we also set up some callbacks for that, because we also want to use that in our UI. You must have seen that whenever you do a video call, then you actually get updates about the other user network connectivity. Okay, so those are the things that we are going to perform using these callbacks. Then in order to actually leave the room or ending this conversation, what you'll have to do is, first of all, you'll have to stop playing the stream. Okay, the remote audio and video stream. Then you'll have to stop publishing your local audio and video stream. That is the second step in order to leave this conversation. Then the last step is to basically get out of that room, or you can say log out in terms of, or log out technically. Okay, so this is the whole workflow for audio and video calling combined. Okay, so we have already discussed this in audio call. This is exactly the same as that one, but here we are going to manage two streams. Now let's also talk about chat briefly. Okay, so chat is actually quite simple. If you pull up the code base, okay, then you can see on our client side we have already set it up things in order to fetch the user's input, like in the text box, also the emojis. And then whenever a user is going to send text message, or they can also send some media message. And how we are going to actually differentiate between these is, if there is some media file in the payload, then that is a media message, otherwise that is a text message. So we have two actually listeners here. As you can see, the first one is socket.on text message. So whenever a user is going to send a text message, okay, we are going to actually get into this workflow. Okay, so we'll be actually getting some payload from the user. Okay, we'll create a new message. That message is going to be actually saved inside some conversation document that we already have in our database. Okay, and after that we just notify, or you can say we fire some event to the two users who are actually communicating with each other. That is how direct text message is going to be sent. Similarly, for the media message, the only difference is going to be that, again, every step is going to remain the same. There is just one additional thing here. We also need to actually store that media that we just received. Okay, and in order to store this media, we are going to need to set up AWS S3. Okay, so all the other steps are same. Okay, you can actually see we are going to store this file on AWS that we are going to receive here, and all of this code can be found in our updated repo. Okay, please also make sure to just like this video and also leave your comment, okay, so that I can release the rest of the code. Okay, so now we can actually start discussing about AWS. Okay, so that we can understand how this AWS S3 or this storage system is going to work in our app. So for that I have already created my AWS account. Let me also show you how you can actually go about creating a new AWS account. Okay, you are actually going to need your debit card, okay, in order to get an AWS account. So we are actually using this because, so let me actually do it on my other browser. Okay, so here we are going to first of all search for AWS on our browser. Okay, then just click on this create an AWS account button. Then you will be pushed into the sign up flow. Here you have to enter your email address, choose an account name for your AWS account. Okay, then you'll have to verify your email address, and please follow all these steps. You will be asked about your contact information like your address. Okay, and if prompted, or like if this is for a personal account or a business, just choose your personal. Okay, and in the last step they are going to ask you to verify this account. Okay, just for the sake of verification they'll ask for the debit card details. Please fill that up. Okay, you will be charged a very minimum amount. In India you will be charged 2 rupees, but that will be reversed very soon. Okay, so after you have your AWS account in place, then let's actually see how we are going to move ahead. So in this console, okay, when you will be logged in, you will be able to see this console. Okay, then you will have to first of all go to this search bar and type S3 here. Okay, and also please make sure that you have selected the correct region from this drop down. So if you just see here, okay, in the header you will be able to select your region. So AWS is actually providing their services through multiple regions, and I'm closest to this one. Okay, Asia Pacific Mumbai, because I am living in India in the state of MP. So this is the closest, this is the closest region. Okay, so I'm just going to select this. Please choose according to whatever suits you. Okay, then just search for S3 over here. Okay, then in the services you will be able to see this scalable storage in the cloud. Just click on that. Okay, so after you open up your Amazon S3, okay, then you will be prompted with this screen. So if you haven't created any bucket yet, okay, so this screen will be empty. Just click on this create bucket button. Okay, and let me take you step by step to each thing. After creating this create bucket button, okay, then you can see you have to fill up your bucket name. Now this bucket name is actually constant within a region. That means here I have this Asia Pacific Mumbai selected, then I'll have to enter something which is unique within this region. That means no bucket with that same name has been created yet. Okay, so please choose your name, okay, according to whatever suits you. So let's actually see. I have created this bucket with the name coding monk. If I try to use this again, I'm going to get some error. Okay, now about this object ownership, keep the default selected option ACLs disabled. Okay, and here block all public access settings for this bucket. Here you'll have to actually turn this off, because AWS wants to keep all of your assets safe. Okay, so they do not provide any external access, but after we upload some files, okay, then we are actually going to use that in our client side application. So for that purpose we'll have to basically allow our users to access objects in our bucket. Okay, so that's why we are turning off this security. Then bucket versioning, you have to basically keep it disabled. We are not going to discuss versioning in this video. I'll create a dedicated video for AWS S3, then I'll explain what this versioning is. Okay, you can actually add some tags here. Okay, this is very useful when setting up CI/CD. Okay, so you just have to basically provide some key value pair here. Then about the encryption, keep the default option. Okay, and do not actually change anything in this advanced settings. Then just click on create bucket. Since I'm using this bucket name, I'm obviously going to get some error, and as you can see it's saying bucket with the same name already exists. So let me just change it to something else. Okay, like this. Then I'll just click on create bucket button. As you can see, I have created my bucket. Okay, but this is not ready for use right now. Okay, let me show you. If you just upload something here, okay, I'm just going to upload some file. So here I have an image of a burger. Okay, I'm just going to upload it. Then let's actually see. So here I have information about this object. When I say object, please understand it as file, okay, because every asset that you are going to maintain inside your S3 bucket, that is known as an object. And here you can see this object URL. This is the URL that will be used in order to access that image that we just uploaded. Now if I just try to access this image, please see we are going to get some form of error here, okay. And as you can see, we have some error, okay. That is because this S3 bucket is currently in a locked state. It is not allowing any public access. Even after we disable that block all public access, there are few other things that we'll have to do in order to basically access these objects. So let's now actually discuss this through a flow diagram, then we'll come back to it, okay, and do the rest of the setup. So here I have created this S3 flow, okay. So let's start from here. So what is this S3 service we are talking about? So the first thing is S3, or you can say simple storage service. This is a service which is provided by AWS, okay, and it is very scalable. You can use it to store and retrieve files on of any type or size globally, okay. That is the high level overview. Now the main features of S3 is that it is highly scalable, okay, unlike other solutions out there, and it is also very secure. Then the main thing here to note is that S3 is going to store all of our files, or you can say assets, as objects, and each object is going to have a unique key, okay. So I'll discuss this in detail, okay, what I mean by this unique key, okay. And the value is actually the content of the file, okay. Then when we are going to set up our S3 bucket, we have to understand these three features: policies, users, and cores. Now cores, you must be familiar with this, okay, because while developing our web applications, and when we want to actually send a request to a remote server, okay, then we have to set up this cores. So I'm just going to discuss this in the last. So let's start with this policies first of all. So what is a policy? Policy is going to be, you can say, it's like a document or a contract which is going to define who can access our S3 bucket, or you can say resources, and what actions they are allowed to perform. So that is a policy, okay. Policy is a combination of some rules and the users, like which user is going to have access to which rule, okay. Now in order to define a policy, you can actually specify some buckets or some specific objects and set some rules on that, okay. And policies can be created for, you can say, individual users, okay, or groups, or some particular roles inside our AWS account. Then the next thing we have is users. It is quite easy to understand. Users, as you can see, I am currently logged into my AWS account, so I am a user, okay. And there can be two different types of users: the one who are actually using this console, and the second one can be the one who are going to access it programmatically. And what I mean by that is, let's say when a user is going to send a media message, okay, then we are going to receive a file on our server. After that, we'll have to upload that file. Now we are not going to do that by like this, okay, what we did for this burger.jpg. We are going to actually send that to our AWS S3 programmatically. So for that, we'll have to create a user, okay, and that user is going to have access to some policy which is going to define some rules, like this user can, whoever has this policy, can actually upload some documents to our S3 bucket, okay. So that is the concept of users in AWS, okay. And you can actually create and manage all of our users inside this another service which is called IAM, and this IAM stands for Identity Access Management Service, okay. So we are going to take a look at that, okay. After that, we have this cores thing. Now cores, you must be familiar with this, okay. This is a mechanism which is actually going to allow us to communicate this AWS S3 server from our remote server, and this is actually going to enhance the security of our S3 service, okay. There is also few things to understand inside this S3 policy. Okay, there are few things known as principal, action, resources, and statement. Now I'm not going to bore you to death, okay, by discussing all of this right now. Let's actually perform something, okay, do some actions over here, okay, then we'll get back to that. So if you just open up this properties tab, okay, then you can see we have many different things over here, and you do not have to actually change anything inside this tab, okay, just leave it as it is. The only thing that you are going to actually find useful over here for right now is this ARN, okay, this is the resource name for our S3 bucket. Please just copy it, okay, then go to this permission section. Now if you haven't actually turned all public access, okay, block all public access option during creation of this bucket, then you'll have to do that right now, okay, after clicking on this edit button. Then the next thing we have to do here is to set up some policy, okay. Now policy is what we are going to discuss, okay. Then as you can see, we also have this course section, so we'll also have to define a course policy over here, okay. Now we are first of all actually going to add some bucket policy here, so I'm just going to click on that edit option. Then here we'll have to actually write some JSON, okay, and we are not going to do that manually, we are going to use this policy generator. So just click on this link over here, then you will be redirected to a new page. Here we are first of all going to select the policy type, and that is going to be S3 bucket policy. Then there is going to be this option called effect, okay. As you can see, we are adding some statement, and I have already mentioned that here, that S3 policy is going to consist of a statement or statements, okay. There can be multiple statement. Now inside each statement, as you can see, we have this principal, okay, so that is what is referred to as principal over here. We're also going to specify some actions, as you can see here, okay, and there is also going to be resources on which this policy is going to be applied on, so that is going to be defined under this Amazon resource name, okay, that resources. So let's actually build a policy. After that we are going to come back to this flow diagram again and discuss each thing in detail. So inside effect you have to select allow, okay, then inside principal, since we are actually going to allow all of our assets that are going to be stored inside this bucket, okay, this policy is going to apply to all of those things, so that is why we are choosing principal as a star. Then inside this AWS service, we are going to just keep it as Amazon S3 because we are building a policy just for this service. Then inside actions, please open up this drop down and you'll have to basically go to get object, okay. So I'm just going to keep scrolling, and here you can see we have this get object, so I'm just going to select only that action, okay. Now inside this Amazon resource name, I just told you, okay, few minutes ago, to copy your ARN for this bucket. I have already copied that, and as you can see I have pasted it over here. So it's just going to look like this: ARN colon AWS S3, then triple colon, then the name of your bucket. After this we are also going to actually specify that this rule is going to be applied to to all the assets, or you can say objects, inside this bucket. So that is why I am adding this forward slash and then star after that, okay. Then I'm just going to click on this add statement button, okay, and that's it. We are just going to keep one single statement, okay. Then you can just click on generate policy and you will get this JSON over here, okay. You just need to copy it, okay, then come back to this page and paste it over here, okay. You can see we don't have any errors or warnings in this JSON, so you can just click on save changes. Now after you do that, you will be able to see this warning over here that Amazon is telling us that now our bucket is publicly accessible. And what is mean by this thing? This means that now you can actually access, or you can say anyone can get objects or preview them or see them, okay. As you can see, now we are able to get this image. So that is what we did just now. We just created a new policy which stated that anyone can get objects from our bucket, okay, and that is actually needed. So here is a question: why does Amazon do this? Why do they keep our bucket non-accessible for the public at the start? That is because we are not always going to use Amazon S3 for storing users public data, okay, that is available, that anyone can view. Sometimes we are also going to use it to maintain our repos, okay. We are going to use it in many workflows like setting up CI/CD, okay, or versioning of our code base. So in that case we do not want to share that data publicly, okay. So that is why Amazon is just putting up this warning so that you can be informed, yeah, you have made your bucket publicly accessible. Then the next thing is that even after we did this, we will not be able to actually upload any file programmatically, okay, and that is because this is not going to accept any request, okay, from a remote server for now, okay. This bucket is not going to accept that. So for that reason we are going to actually create this course policy over here. Just click on this edit button, okay. Again you'll have to define it in JSON format. So I already have that inside one of my other buckets, so I'm just going to go inside this coding monk, okay, then permissions, and as you can see I have already written this, so I'm just going to copy it over here. Then inside this coding monk 001, I'll just again go here and click on this edit button. Let's actually paste it over here. So as you can see, we can configure many different things inside this course policy. We can specify the allowed headers, allowed methods, allowed origins, okay, expose headers, and max each second. So for now I'm just going to keep these values, okay, because this is just for the test purpose, but please make sure to keep this origin to your application's domain, okay. Otherwise anyone who has access to your credentials, okay, which we are going to create in just a minute, they can actually abuse those. So for now I'm just going to click on this save changes button. So that's it, that's the setup we have to do inside our Amazon S3 bucket. Then the next step is to basically create some credentials so that we can actually start sending some documents inside this bucket programmatically. So for that you'll have to actually search for this IAM, okay. Now this IAM service is what is going to be used in order to maintain our users policies, okay, the things that we discussed just now. So here you can see on the left side we have these tabs: users, roles, and policies, okay. We just discussed this few minutes ago. The first thing that we'll have to do here is to create a new policy. So just click on this policies button, okay, and as you can see I have created already a custom policy. Now there are two types of policies here: the one which are going to be managed by AWS. So if you are able to see this container icon here, then that means this policy is not created by you, this is managed by AWS, okay. Then if you see these policies, okay, without this container sign, then that means these are managed by the user. So I have created these policies, okay. Let's actually create a new policy. So just click on this create policy button, and then we are going to actually use this visual editor instead of this JSON editor, okay, so that you can understand it better. Just click on this service, okay, and we are actually creating a new policy for S3. So I'm just going to type here S3, select this S3 option, then what actions we are going to permit, okay, through this policy. So via this policy I'm just going to actually allow our users to just write to this bucket. That means post some data, okay, that means post, put, and patch calls, those are only going to be accepted, okay. But if you are not sure about how, like what actions you want to permit, you can just select all of them for now, okay, but you can obviously fine grain them as per your need, okay, after you get more familiar with it. Then inside this resources we'll have to click on this specific button. Again you have the option to actually apply this policy or create this policy for all of the resources, but here I'm just going to fine tune it, okay. So the first thing that you have to basically restrict here is the bucket. So I'm just going to click on this add ARN, okay, and then just type your bucket name here, and my bucket name that I just created is coding monk 001. Okay, don't click on this any, otherwise this coding monk 001 will be replaced by star. Let me show it to you like this. Okay, so we have to just enter our bucket's name here. Okay, click on add button. Now we have restricted that this policy, okay, is going to be applicable only for objects inside this bucket. Now if you want to, you can also fine tune it for objects inside this, or you can say assets inside this bucket. Okay, so here I'm just going to write coding monk, and since I want this policy to be applicable to all of the assets, or you can say files inside this bucket, so I'm just going to type star, or you can also just take this any button here. Okay, click on add, and that's it. Now we have fine-tuned the resources that we are going to be allowing this policy to be applicable on. Okay, then inside this request conditions, we are not going to actually configure any of these. Okay, this multi-factor authentication in source IP, we are not going to restrict via that. Okay, so next thing we have to do is just click on this next tags button. Okay, I'm not going to add any tag for now. Okay, but it's a good practice to keep adding tags and description, okay, wherever you can. So after that we just have to name this policy. Okay, this has to be again a unique name. Then I'm just going to call it coding monk, okay, chat s3 policy. You can actually enter some description over here. Okay, and you can see what this policy is going to do over here. So next thing is just to create this policy. Click on this create policy button. Now here you can see we have this policy that we just created, and this policy is not actually, so the next thing we have to do is to go to this users tab and then click on this add users. Okay, we are going to create a new user which is going to be using that policy. So here again I'm going to name it as cm, okay, and then chat API user. Okay, and why I'm naming it like this, because this is not going to be any physical user, this is going to be used programmatically, okay, in order to access our s3 resources. Then just click on this next button, and here you have this option to set permissions for this user. Now I'm just going to actually select the third option, attach policies directly. Then I'm just going to search for this policy that we created right now. Okay, that was labeled as coding monk chat s3 policy. So I'm just going to apply that over here, and then the next policy that I'll be applying is AWS managed policy, which is AWS s3. Let's search for it. Okay, let me search for just s3. So here you have this policy with the name of Amazon s3 full access. Okay, and as you can see this is managed by AWS. I'm also going to apply that to this user. Okay, then just click on this next button. You can add few tags over here, okay, for this user. Then the next step is to just create that user. Okay, so after this user is created, you can see this message over here. Just click on this view user button. Okay, and here you have the user security credentials. Okay, here we'll have to actually specify that this user is not going to be accessing our AWS resources through console. Okay, so that is why it's disabled first of all. So we'll have to actually create some access keys for this user, because this user is going to access our resource through one of these options. Okay, as you can see, if we create this access key, then the user will be able to access our resources through CLI, okay, or PowerShell or AWS SDK, or via direct API calls. So click on this create access key. Okay, so here you have to specify from where our user is actually going to access our resources. So click on this fourth option, application running outside AWS. Okay, then click on this next button. You can actually write some tags again here, and then just click on create access key. Okay, so these are the credentials that you'll get after that. This is very important. Okay, you have to keep it very safe. Okay, also keep it safe as a CSV file. Now everything that we have to do in our AWS S3 is done. Okay, then the next thing is to just use that access key we created in order to create an instance of AWS. Okay, then let me actually show you how we are actually going to upload images, okay, to our AWS S3 account. So here we have our Node.js app, and this is our AWS SDK, which is going to be configured inside our server. Okay, you can also do that on client side, but that's not a safe option. So we are going to actually, after creating the instance, or you can say engine again, we'll be actually sending a call to AWS in order to get a pre-signed URL. Now this pre-signed URL is going to be needed in order to upload any new object to this S3 bucket. Okay, so whenever I want to upload a new file, I'm going to do a call, okay, which will be to get a pre-signed URL. Okay, then after we get that pre-signed URL as a response, okay, you will have to do a callback again. Okay, and this time on this pre-signed URL that you get as a response, and the method for this call is going to be put. Okay, you have to basically pass your file inside the body. Okay, so that is how the flow of uploading images to AWS S3 works. Okay, and between this flow we are going to save the unique key that will be generated on our server, okay, inside our database, so that we can access that file whenever we want after it's uploaded. So if you are not able to actually grasp all of this in just one video, okay, then I'll be creating another video on this topic. Please just let me know in the comments, okay, so that I can be sure about that. And let's actually now quickly recap what S3 policy is. So it has four parts: principal, action, resources, and statement. Now the principal, you can see it's a user or group that is granted or denied access to the resource. Then the action is, as the name suggests, the actions that a group or a user is allowed to perform. Okay, like we selected get object, that is how we were able to actually get that image through our browser. Okay, then the resource, on which resource this policy is going to be applicable. So we just entered our buckets ARN, Amazon resource name. Okay, then the statement. Okay, and statement is actually made by using all of these three things. After we select an effect that was allow, then we select a principal, we specify an action, and we also mention the resource on which this policy is going to be applicable, and these three things together makes a statement. Okay, so this statement, a policy can have multiple statements. Okay, so that is how this concept of S3 policy works. Okay, see how we can actually deploy our front end and backend using EC2. So the first thing you have to do is go back to your AWS console and search for EC2 and click on this virtual servers in the cloud. This is the service that we are going to use for this. Okay, so after opening up your EC2 console, okay, you'll see this orange button here which is going to say launch instance. Just click on it. Okay, and then you will be presented with this screen. Again, please make sure that you are creating a new instance in your nearest zone. Okay, so switch to your nearest zone if you haven't done that already. Then we have to basically create a virtual machine. Okay, now what I mean by this, let's say if you are living in India, okay, then there is a data center in Mumbai. Okay, when you create a new instance over here, okay, then a new machine, or you can say a new resource, is going to be allocated for you. Okay, and you will be charged, okay, if you are not creating that in a free tier instance. Okay, how to create an instance under free tier? So let's now actually start by naming our instance first of all. So since we are actually deploying our front end on this, so I'm just going to call it chat front end. Okay, like this. Then the second step is to basically select your app, to select your operating system. In this video I'm going to go ahead with Ubuntu. Okay, and then here as you can see we have selected Ubuntu, and then under the instance type you'll get this T2 micro, which is selected by default, and this is actually eligible for the free tier. Okay, so you can go ahead with this. The only thing that we are going to actually change over here is this configure store by storage. So we are going to actually increase this to 30. Okay, and you have to keep this gp2 memory because gp3 and other are going to cost more. Okay, then under this key pair, which is going to be used to log into our instance using SSH, you have to basically create a new key pair. Okay, so I'm just going to click on this create new key pair, then I'm just going to call it chat app. Okay, then click on create new key pair. Now after you do that, a new file will be downloaded, okay, with the credentials. Then the next thing we have to do is to go under this network settings, okay, and then also allow HTTPS and HTTP traffic from the internet. So from the internet means from any IP address, okay, and we are also allowing to SSH into this instance. That means we are also going to allow SSH into this instance from anywhere. Okay, now we are also going to edit this, okay, because our application is actually going to run on port 3000, okay, our front end application. So after clicking on add new rule, okay, you can just go ahead and select the type as custom TCP, okay, type the port range as 3000. Here in the source I'm going to add this 000/0, that means from anywhere, okay, networking, okay, to our instance. That means now anyone from the internet can actually access this port 3000, okay. Also they can send a request over this port 80 on port 443, and they can also use this SSH protocol, okay, to basically log into our instance through a terminal. So that's it. After you basically set up this configure storage to 30, okay, just click on this launch instance, and also please don't change this number. We are just going to launch one instance for now, okay. So here I'm just going to click on this launch instance button, then okay, like this. And here is one thing: if you are creating your first instance, then there are chances that this might fail, okay, because when you create your first instance, then AWS is going to verify, okay, if your account is legitimate or not, okay. That usually takes about 2 to 4 hours. So you can actually come back after that period. You will receive a confirmation email after this resource is actually activated for your profile, okay. So after that, again, you can come back and follow this procedure. Now I'm just going to click on the ID of the new instance that is created. So as you can see, we have this instance. Sorry, I actually mistyped the name here. Now you can see our instance is in running state, okay. Then just click on the instance ID, and let me just give you a quick overview of what this is actually telling us. So these are the information. So this is the information about the instance that we just created, and the only useful things that you have to focus on for now is this public IPv4 address, okay. And also, okay, you can just go to security tab and see that we have these inbound rules, okay, that we just set it up, which is actually defining what ports and what through what protocol we can access them, okay. And the source can be anywhere. Then similarly, you have this storage tab where you can actually get information about the storage that you have, status check, okay. And you also have this monitoring tab where you can actually various things about your instance, okay. So that is just an overview. The important thing here is to basically see that we can actually put our instance in many different states. Like we can stop our instance, it can be reverted, or it can be terminated as well. Now when you stop your instance, okay, it can be reverted, but when you terminate, it's gone, okay, like deleted, nothing exists. Also when you actually stop or terminate, okay, whatever action you take, this IP will be gone, okay. And this IP is actually very important for us because we are going to use it for the DNS routing, okay. So for now, let's just click on this connect button, and after that you will be redirected to this screen. Please select this SSH client method if not already selected, okay. Then you can see we have some steps in order to connect to our instance through our terminal. So the first step you have to do is to just open up your terminal, okay. If you are working on Windows, you can use PowerShell, okay. So here I have my terminal opened up, okay. Let me just zoom in. Then you have to first of all navigate to the place where you just saved that key pair login, okay. So when we created that, okay, that file was downloaded inside my downloads folder. So I'm just going to navigate to downloads, okay. And then I'm just going to first of all run this chmod 400 chatapp.pem, okay. After that, I'm just going to copy this connection string, okay. And then what I'm going to do, I'll be adding sudo in front of this, okay. I'm just adding this so that there is no permission error, okay. So let's actually connect to it. I'll be entering my password here, If you are working on a Windows machine, then you don't need to add this sudo. Okay, it can be useful only in Mac or Linux based operating system. After you basically press yes, okay, then you can see we are logged into our remote instance. That means this is a computer, you can say machine, which is actually running on the data center which is located in Mumbai, but we are able to log into that. Okay, now this is a computer, okay, just an Ubuntu machine. You can actually do whatever you can do on your local machine. Okay, so here you can run this command ls. There is nothing, okay, over here. And so what we are going to do, we are first of all going to prepare this machine, okay, for the deployment. And what I mean by that is, when you are running your app, okay, your React app, then you need node environment for that. Okay, so that is not actually present inside this machine, okay, that we just created by default. So we have to install those softwares. So I'm just going to take you through this, okay, step by step. So keep following me, okay. And also please like this video if you are finding this content useful. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is to get all of the updates. Okay, so I'm just going to run this command sudo apt update. And also let me just clear this, even if you are working on Windows, okay, this machine that we are interacting with right now through our SSH is an Ubuntu operating system. Okay, so you can use these commands that I'm giving you over here. So after this is updated, we are now going to actually run this upgrade command. Okay, and if you want to get a list of all the commands in sequence, please join our Discord server. I'll be giving all of this over there. Okay, so this is the first step. We are basically updating our system to ensure that we don't have any dependency issues later on, okay, when we install other softwares. After that, what I'm going to do, you can just again run update. Okay, after this upgrade command is completed, so I'm just going to run it again. Then we are going to basically get node. Okay, so that is why I'm first of all going to install some dependencies for that. Okay, now after that is done, I'm going to get node source, okay, from the official apt repository. So you can just run this command for that. And then in the third step, we are going to install node.js. Okay, so for that you can just type this command. And after this node.js is also installed, we can actually install some development tools which will be useful to build native add-ons. Okay, so run that command sudo apt -y install gcc g++ and make. Okay, so this will be useful for building the native add-ons. Then you can just, after this, you'll be able to basically check the version of node in npm in your system. Okay, and it should be fine. Okay, so we'll do that. Let this finish. Okay, so while this is actually installing node.js, okay, let's actually do one thing. You have to go back to your instance once again. Okay, then you have to copy this public IPv4 address. After that, you have to go to your DNS registrar. Okay, I have purchased my domain through GoDaddy, so I have logged into this. Here you can see I have this domain codingmonk.in, and I'm actually going to host our app on chat on the subdomain chat.codingmonk.in. Okay, so for that, what I'll have to do, I'll have to just go to DNS records, and then I'm going to click on add new record. Okay, here you have to select this A option. Okay, by A records use an IP address which is going to connect to your website. Okay, they are also used to create subdomains. Okay, and here we are actually doing two things. We are is going to specify an IP address. Okay, and whenever someone wants to try to access chat.codingmonk.in, then they will be basically redirected to this instance or the machine which is actually running on this particular IP that we are going to specify over here. Okay, this is the IPv4 address that we just copied. And we are also going to set up a subdomain because we are going to run it on chat.codingmonk.in. So just write chat in place of this name. Then inside this TTL, by TTL it means time to live. Okay, that means it is the caching period. You can just set it to custom, and I'm going to set it to minimum value, that is 600 seconds or 10 minutes. Okay, then I'm just going to click on save. Okay, but before that, let me also add another subdomain. Okay, and that will be www.chat. So this is going to make our app accessible also through www.chat.codingmonk.in. Again, the value for this is going to be the same IP address. TTL, again I'm going to set it to the minimum value possible, that is 600 seconds. Okay, now I'm going to click on this save all records button. Okay, now our DNS record is updated, and this is also going to be a necessary step when we want to basically get our SSL certificate through Let's Encrypt through Let's Encrypt. Okay, so let's actually go back to our terminal, and here as you can see our Node.js installation is completed now. So I'm just going to verify that by typing this command node dash dash version. Okay, and here you can see we have installed 14th version. Okay, similarly you can check npm version, and it's 614. Okay, so that's it, we are good to go. Okay, so the next thing that you can actually do is to get git, but it comes already pre-installed in this machine. But if you are actually going to create any other machine, okay, so I'm just giving you this command in order to install git. Okay, so as you can see it is saying git is already the newest version, okay, on this machine. So git is set to manually installed, nothing is upgraded, nothing is newly installed, and nothing removed. So after that you can also basically check your git version. Okay, so for that we just have to type git dash dash version like this. Okay, so we have this git version 234, and now we are going to actually use this git CLI that we have over here to actually fetch our repository, because you can imagine it just like your local computer. Okay, and on your local computer how do you run your code? You just basically build your repository, okay, and then you can serve it. Okay, so that's how we are going to do that here as well. So we just have to fetch our code base first of all. Okay, so for that I'm just going to write this sudo git clone. Okay, and then you can just actually open up your repository. So I'm just going to pull up my github repo, just go to github.com, and here we have chat app latest. Okay, I'm just going to copy its https URL. Okay, and then you can just actually clone it over here like this. Since it's a public repository, so there is no need of credentials, otherwise you'll have to basically provide your personal access token in order to authenticate it. Okay, then if you just type this ls, then you can see we have this repository now, chat app latest. I'm just going to go inside that cd chat app latest, then you have to run this npm I command. Okay, I'm just also going to run this with the sudo keyword. Okay, so that there is no permission error. Okay, now after this npm installation is done, we are going to actually build our app. Okay, so for that we are just simply going to run the command sudo npm run build. Okay, just like what we do on our local machine. So here you can see we are getting some error. Okay, during build it's saying that it's actually trying to find something inside this routes. Okay, and it's not able to actually get it. We are going to actually write this command mv. Okay, so first of all source and then sections, and inside that currently we have it by the name of capital D. Okay, and then we want to basically rename it to source slash sections and then small d. Okay, dashboard starting with small d. Please execute this command. Okay, and as you can see while executing this command I am getting this permission denied error. Okay, in order to resolve that I can just add sudo in front of this command. Okay, now this folder is renamed. Let's try building our app again. Okay, so after executing that build command we are now getting another error, and I just wanted to show you this to you. Okay, since we are actually running our code on a t2 micro instance, okay, so we have less memory over here, so that is why we are getting this error, javascript heap out of memory. Okay, and now what's the solution? Basically we are running our code on a t2 micro instance, and the memory that we have here is not sufficient for building this app. Okay, so the one thing that you can do is to again create your instance. Okay, and this time we are not going to create t2 micro, we'll be using t2 medium instance or higher. Okay, now I'll suggest you to go ahead with just t2 medium. Okay, so I'll suggest you to go ahead with t2 medium. Okay, that is not a free tier eligible instance. Okay, but you can just try it out. Okay, that will not cost you much. Okay, so now after this we need to actually create a new instance again. I'm just going to go to my instances. Okay, then so now what we have to do is just go to our instances. Okay, and here what we are going to do, first of all we are going to terminate chat frontend. Okay, so just go inside this instance and click on instance state. I'm just going to click on terminate instance. Okay, then click on this terminate button. Okay, then again we'll have to go through the same process once again. Okay, so let me just tell you where the difference is going to be. After that we'll be catching up again at the step of building our app. Okay, so here again I'm going to name something. This time I'm just going to call it chat dash fe. Fe means front end, and then I'll select this Ubuntu operating system once again. Okay, now after that I'm going to just select a different instance. Okay, here the family is going to be again T2, but it will be T2 medium instance. Okay, and then I'm going to just use the same key pair. Okay, in order to SSH into my instance that we just created a few minutes ago. Then again we'll just, or you can actually use the existing security group that was created. Okay, so it was launch wizard 6. Okay, if you don't know the name, okay, you have to basically go back to your previous instance and check inside your security. Otherwise you can just again create that by clicking on this create security group, enable SSH, HTTP, HTTPS, and also click on edit and also add a new rule. Okay, which is going to allow us to access port 3000 from the internet, that means anywhere. Okay, then inside this configure store I'm just going to keep this to 30. Okay, and instance is just going to be 1. Again we'll have to launch our instance. Okay, now in a few minutes our instance will be ready for use. Okay, so please repeat the same process that we did earlier. Okay, and come back after you are on the build step. Also, as you can see, just after we terminated our instance, then the connection to our previous instance is closed automatically. Okay, this is actually closed by remote host. That means the machine that is running in AWS Mumbai region. Okay, so I'm just going to clear my terminal and then I'll be connecting once again. Okay, using this new instance which is now in running state. Just go to this connect tab. Okay, go to this connect button and again follow the same procedure. So I'm just going to again grab my connection string and paste it over here. Like again you have to just type yes. Now we are inside our instance once again. Okay, I'm just going to run all of those commands once again. So please come back. I'll be seeing you at the step where we were building our app. Okay, so now as you can see our app is successfully built. Okay, when we launched new instance. Okay, and repeated all of the steps, then what we have to basically do is now our app is actually ready for deployment on our remote machine. But how do we access it? Okay, that is the main question over here right now. So for that we are going to actually use a reverse proxy which is called nginx. Okay, so here we are going to use nginx. So let's actually first of all get that. Okay, so run this command in order to install nginx onto your remote machine. Okay, just press yes. Okay, for the prompt that you will be given. Okay, so now after nginx is successfully installed onto our machine, I'm just going to basically run this command which is sudo service nginx start in order to start our nginx. Okay, then you can actually see the status by running this command. Okay, and you can see our nginx is running properly. Then what we are actually going to do, first of all we'll have to configure nginx. Okay, so for that we'll have to navigate to this file. Okay, cd etc nginx, and so after navigating to this folder, okay, or directory, so we are going to then create a new file. Okay, and edit it using vi editor. So this file is going to be called nginx.config. Okay, then when you move inside this file, then you'll see something is already written over here. Okay, but we don't want this. Okay, so just type 200 and then press D. Okay, after that just press enter or return. Okay, and then you can see all of the lines are deleted. Okay, and there is nothing in the buffer right now. Then you can just press I button. Okay, to go into the insert mode, and then I'm going to give you this code. Okay, So this will be again given on our Discord server. Okay, so please join that if you want to get it, and just paste it over here like this. What this is actually doing, this is just the basic configuration for our Nginx. Here we are specifying that the user is Ubuntu. Okay, we need to keep one worker process. All the error logs are going to be stored inside this. Okay, and the information like that, access log will be stored here. And then we have our limit on the client body buffer size. Similarly, for the header buffer size, max body that can be actually sent. Okay, so things like that. And here at the end, as you can see, we are actually including another file over here, which is going to be stored inside this folder etc nginx. Okay, conf.d, and there will have some file with which is going to end with this extension .conf. Okay, so now it's time to actually save this file. What you can do is to just press escape. Okay, so I'm just going to first of all press escape, then shift ZZ. Okay, so this is going to actually save your file. Okay, in Vim editor, and then exit. After that is done, what you need to do is we need to navigate to the next, we need to navigate to this folder as we just discussed. Okay, then we are going to create a new file here. So I'm just going to write sudo vi. Okay, and then default.conf. Okay, now here we are going to write some content inside this file. Okay, in order to define, okay, server blocks. We are actually going to define server block over here like this. So what we are basically saying is that we are creating a server. Okay, and the domain for our server is actually going to be, let's get into the insert mode by pressing I. Okay, and then here I'm going to change it to chat.codingmonk.in and www.chat.codingmonk.in. Okay, then actually we don't need this access log over here, so I'm just going to delete it. So again I'm going to press escape and then dd. Okay, double D means delete over here. So now what you have to do is inside this location block we are just going to change this root to the path of our build folder. Okay, so here we have our home Ubuntu. Okay, then the name of our app is, let's actually see, here we have chat app latest, so this will be the name, chat app latest of our repository. Then we need to actually go inside this build directory. Okay, that is where all of our JS bundle is going to reside. Then after you do this, you can just press escape button again. Okay, and then press shift ZZ. Okay, now this is going to actually save this file. Okay, and now there is just one last step that is remaining. Okay, what we have to do, we have to basically get SSL certificate for our application. Okay, but before doing that we need to install some software, and we are going to actually install certbot. Okay, so for that you can actually run this command, then just press enter as stated. Okay, then this is going to install certbot onto your machine. After doing this, let's actually update all of the dependencies. Okay, and then as the next step we are going to actually get this plugin python 3 certbot nginx. Just press yes. Okay, after this is installed. Okay, what we need to do, we need to basically run a command in order to get SSL certificate. Okay, so this is the command that will be running. So here I'm just going to update this to www.chat.codingmonk.in. Okay, and similarly we are going to again rename it to chat.codingmonk.in. Okay, like this. Then after you press enter, okay, you'll have to enter your email address. Here I'm just going to give this email, contact@codingmonk.in. Okay, then press yes and again yes. Then what it's going to do, it's now going to confirm your DNS record. Okay, that we updated. So it is going to now verify the DNS records. As you can see, something has gone wrong. Okay, and the certificate is not issued. So what you have to do, you just need to type sudo nginx -t. Okay, and this is going to tell you if the nginx configuration is okay or not. So as you can see, Nginx configuration syntax is okay and the test is successful. So what we can do, we can just run this sudo service nginx stop, okay, and then after this I'm just going to start it, okay, check its status. If needed, you can also just restart it by writing this command sudo service nginx restart, okay. Then again, let's actually run this certbot command in order to issue certificate. So this time around, it's not going to ask us for the permission, okay, and also not for the email. It is going to use the previous response. Let's just wait for a few minutes, okay. Okay, so what is actually happening here is right now that we haven't updated the IP address, okay. If you remember correctly, we created a different instance, okay. So I'm just going to again go to this instances list, and here you can see we have this new instance chat fe, okay. This chat front end is now terminated, okay. So we have to basically copy this new IP address, public IPv4 address again, and then I will be going back to my DNS, okay, and here I'll search for a records only, and let's see, we have this chat, okay, and this chat we are just going to update the IP address over here also in this one www.chat. And yeah, so as you can see, this time we have issued our certificates successfully, and also the redirection is set up. That means whenever someone visits this chat.codingmonk.in, then they will be automatically redirected to this https url, okay. Let's now try this, okay, on our browser. So here I'm just going to write chat.codingmonk.in, and as you can see, our application is now hosted. And the main benefit that you get from learning all of this stuff is that how this is actually done in the backend, okay, because this is very important whenever you are going to go to work, okay, even if you open up your own startup, okay, or you work for another startup or a company, then you will be actually, then these skills are going to be very useful for you, okay. And there are many other benefits. You have so much control as compared to the other solutions like Heroku and Vercel, okay. But that's it, this is it for this video. We have seen how to basically deploy our app on EC2. We have also seen how to configure our S3 bucket, okay. So that's a lot for this video, and the flow for deploying our node.js application is almost same, okay. There is just one last step, that is during the configuration of nginx. We have some changes over there, otherwise it's almost same. So I'm just going to write a blog on that, okay, and please comment if you want a video on that as well, okay. If there are more than 50 comments, then I'll be making a video on deployment of node.js app as well, okay. Please also make sure to join our Discord server, okay, because I'm going to share a lot of important details over there, okay. So that's it. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next series.